All right. Oh God.
What a freaking start.
Stumble over my own words for the people. Welcome back to Developing Hurricanes, where I, Nick, can't speak at all, as we have come to find out. In any case, this is. I'm just going to call this the trade deadline episode because we're
Sure.
what 3 days out. Three. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
Friday. Friday. Okay. Um. So that's always fun. How are you doing, Matt?
Next question. It's been a,
Oh,
it's been a week.
yeah.
I won't lie.
Um, yeah. It's definitely. I know some of it, not all of it, but yeah, it's
I'm
definitely.
excited. You know what? Here, I'll put a positive spin on it. I'm excited. Friday night, I found out we got PWHL tickets, so we're gonna go see.
Oh, lucky.
Yeah, we're gonna go see that game. I'm very excited.
Oh yeah.
I want to not only support women's hockey, but I've been watching it this year, and it's a ton of fun. And so, obviously we don't have a team here, but getting to see it live and in person is going to be pretty dope.
Oh yeah. I definitely am jealous of that. I will also be in Raleigh, but I will be there because I will be boarding a flight with my father Saturday, very early Saturday morning to go to Vegas.
Nice.
I'm excited about that. Get to see a Golden Knights game out there, which I'm just excited about that. But it's also Vegas. You can't. Yeah. Um, yeah. World of Prospects has definitely been interesting over the past few days. We're gonna start off in memoriam. He's not dead. He just got hurt for the second time in a
I
season.
was like, what did I miss?
No, it's poor Gleb Trikozov. He don't I was genuinely I wasn't paying full attention, but I look over and I see play was stopped and I see him getting helped off the ice and I was like, "Oh no, please don't be." And I look and I see 71 and I put my hands in my head and I was heartbroken.
Fell to your knees. Yeah, he kind of got Suzuki'd.
Suzuki.
Suzuki got hurt like twice during his rookie season, I think.
Oh.
It was at
Well,
least he had struggled with lower body injuries. That's the comparison that I'm making.
yeah,
He's
I
trying to make.
know. I don't think he broke it the first time. It might have been a fracture. I have no idea. I don't know what happened this time, but it was one of his legs. I don't know which one he hurt the first time.
Ouch.
I couldn't tell you, but yeah, this is definitely, and I feel bad because he had just come back from a big leg injury, and now he's going right back to another big leg injury, and it's first season in North America and all this stuff. It's just it's awful, and I feel for the kid. And it feels weird saying kid, but he's 20, and I have to remember 20. Yeah, so I have to remember that, and it's kind of weird, but I hope he gets better soon.
Yeah, same. I mean, I think he really in his first game back, he showed a couple plays where I was like, all right, like I can kind of see the vision here. I mean, I struggle a lot with Gleb because the way he plays is very individualistic, and I don't necessarily think that works in our system. Um, but I start to see him attacking the puck a little bit more. I see him crashing the net, and I'm like, okay, like maybe some of those habits are kind of being worked out of his game. And then he
Yeah,
gets hurt. It's the thing that young players need the most is ice time, and unfortunately for Gleb, he's not going to get that. So it's tough, but I think that he'll come back stronger. I mean, it looks like Chicago's making the playoffs this year, so I
they
think
have a
that if he can come back and make the playoffs, then hey, not too bad.
they have a really rough schedule coming up. I think they have to play Coachella Valley and Hershey again, which is that's going to be rough. But it's definitely it sucks, and I think this year for me, whenever I go back and start reviewing players' seasons and kind of looking over that, this season will just get a kind of like how you get like an incomplete on your report card or in like college or something where you like just barely went to the class, didn't really do the work, and you just got dropped, but you didn't drop the class, so they gave you like an IC kind of. It's kind of because he played 20 games. You can't judge a full season on 20. That's yeah. Just hope Gleb gets healthy going into this offseason because it's going to be a big offseason for him. Obviously, second, going into his second offseason in North America, going through his second training camp, second development camp. We obviously just want to see him healthy and 20 games, incomplete season, all of that. You can't. It's kind of unfair to judge a guy based on a very small production. So,
Yeah.
Gleb. I'll miss him because I can't use that image anymore this season.
I have a challenge for our listeners.
Oh boy.
I want somebody to come up with a chant that involves Gleb. Like a cheer, a chant, something that rhymes with Gleb. And if we get a good one, Nick and I will both. Maybe it'll just be me. I'm happy to just do it by myself and make myself look like an idiot.
You're volunteering me for something I don't know what you're about to say.
I will do that chant on the next episode of this podcast. So that is my challenge to you. Make a Gleb chant, please, because I think it would be hilarious. And I've been thinking this whole time, like, how are you going to cheer for a person named Gleb? Are you just going to say his name? Like, no, there's got to be a chant. The name that good, you have to have a chant. So somebody more creative than me, come up with that. And I will happily do the chant.
I mean, if anything, what we can do, for the audio and video listeners, I have the Canes versus Red Wings game on. Taylor Hall just had a penalty shot.
Did he score?
No.
I hate it here.
It wasn't the worst shot. Yeah, I don't really know if I would do it, but it's definitely a funny idea because you can whip that one out at if he's playing during prospect camp, whip that one out. That would be the funniest thing you could ever think of. Just 50 people all chanting for Gleb.
Yeah, exactly. It'll be hilarious.
I know for a fact I would see every single Russian just look around confused. Just what's going on?
And you know what? Then you, our Russian liaison, can explain to them what the hell is going on.
All I would say is Gleb. I don't think there would be any other word.
And they would just be like, "Are you trying to like get him to come over here?" Like,
no, just want to say it's a great name. There's not many other kids named Gleb out there.
Oh man, we've spent way too long on this guy's name.
No.
Oh man.
No. I'm trying to think. I guess we'll keep it with the Russian guys because we got a few more to speak about
this
here.
This is probably going to be an "Oops, all Russians" episode.
No, not all Russians. Just a good 90 to 85% will be Russians. I actually did. I wanted to touch on a guy kind of having a resurgence of his prospect status back to being a lot more relevant, and that's Alexander Paravelov, who started the season with Omsky Krylia. Yes, Omsky. I remember that. And he was kind of not good. He was fluctuating between 13th forward, top line, fourth line, second line, and then just disappeared. So he got a move to Metallurg Novokuznetsk, which is another incredibly fun thing to say. And in 22 games, I want to say he has 18 points or 16 points. And I know you just looked it up because I could hear your keyboard.
No. Actually, that's not what I'm looking up. Please continue because I have not finished.
Oh, my apologies.
Okay. All right. I have my stat now.
Oh, you have a stat. Okay.
Well, not stat, but just a thought.
It's really bad because I looked this up yesterday to share it, and I completely forgot it. In his last 5 games, he has 8 points, which is pretty impressive. Yeah, in 22 games, he has 18 points. His last five, he's been really, really good. And he's kind of like he found, I don't know if saying refound his love of the game is the right phrase, but it's definitely gone on like a big like this 2021 third round pick. People weren't talking about him really at all, and then now he's he's getting talked about a little bit more, and I need to start talking about him more. And for the people out there, VHL and MHL games are free to watch on YouTube, so you are ever wanting to watch, guys like Paravelov or Guslitsov or Pelovin. Everybody should go watch Alexander Pelovin. He
Do
is,
not watch Alexander Pelovin.
he's setting you up for failure. Don't listen to him. He's a great player. And while you're watching Torpedo Gorky, you can watch Andrei Krutov, and then you'll have some real fun.
Okay, you can watch Andrei Krutov. Alexander Pelovin is so boring.
Okay, you keep saying this, and honestly, I don't disagree, but I don't fully agree. There are some moments where I'm like, oh, dude, he can kind of move the puck a little bit. Or if you really want to have fun, watch HC Rostov from time to time and watch Fyodor Avramov, because if you've ever wanted to watch the old school power forward style reincarnated, Fyodor Avramov. It's kind of weird watching him play because he's a bully when he has the puck. He just likes going around people. Anyway, Paravelov's been kind of good recently, Matt.
Yeah, he has. So I liked so he was one of those players when the Canes drafted him. I did like a deep dive on him because at the time I was still writing for Canes Country. Because he was a 2022 pick, right? Yeah.
No, he's 21. Wait,
22.
was he 20? No, did I get that wrong? He was 70th
right.
overall.
It's all right.
No, he's 71st. Oh, I'm just all types of great today.
Eh.
He has me up past my bedtime.
I know. I'm sorry.
It's okay.
But so Paravolov, when I watched him, this was right before I left Canes Country, so I was still doing deep dives on the draft. So watched him play. Unreal skater, super high end individual skill, but it was kind of like the rest of his game was a huge question mark. Like he hadn't really figured out how to be consistent. His defense was non-existent. He was kind of playing for a tougher team to play for in the Locomotive system. Like, Loco doesn't do a great job of developing their players anymore.
Agreed. Completely agreed.
It's a very tough. Like with watching Roman Chakrin this year, this is a kid that should be
their system
playing in the VHL, and their
system is offensive to watch.
It's not great, and that's all I can really say about it. But good Lord, my cat just like shook the entire house. I don't know if you heard that.
I heard a little bit of it. Yeah,
it was like, So with Paravolov, like he gets out of that system, gets loaned to Sochi or no, Kunlun, which is like the worst team other than HK Sochi to get loaned to. And he got loaned to both of those teams in back-to-back years. So, like, he has KHL experience, but, like,
I will also say the year he got loaned to Sochi and the year he got loaned, I think it was the same year, wasn't it? Red Star and Sochi was the same year. Okay. Well, I know for the year with Sochi, he got hurt kind of bad. And then he went through an illness.
Part of that's not his fault. Part of it is also Sochi's awful.
Hey, man. They still have Fyodor Avramov, and they give him 4 minutes a game once every third game.
Sure, but they're bad.
Yes, they are.
This year he goes to Omsky Krylia.
Yep.
And you're like, wow, Omsky, that sounds familiar. That's where Gleb came from. That's also where Timur Cole was drafted from. I'll get to that in a second. Gleb was not ever given a chance outside. And maybe it was because, like, Russian players are weird. Like, Russian teams are weird when they don't sign. Mm-hmm. Or when, like, the players don't sign extensions. They make it seem like they don't want to be there. They're not going to invest time in you anymore. Maybe that's what it was. But then you get Timur Cole, who's actively like, nah, I don't want to play in this organization anymore. I'm going to go sign with St. Petersburg. Just kind of makes you think, like, maybe that team's not the best fit for NHL prospects. And so, Perevalov going to this other team and doing well, like, that's not a surprise to me. He's got tons of skill.
Yeah.
And when he's on his game, he's electric. Like, the things he can do with the puck, I mean, it's unreal. And his hands are as quick as his feet. And that's a big thing where when you get a guy who I think he is about, is he just 6 feet tall? Yeah, he's okay. So he's not like the biggest guy ever, but he moves. He's got a decent amount of power, like 194 pounds. Like,
I was going to say 194 for 6 feet. A little bit heavy.
He's a stocky Russian
Not heavy,
boy.
but he's stocky, buff. Well,
Yeah.
Maybe he's thick. I don't know. Wait, hold on. Maybe not that.
Ooh,
man.
We're on fire today. No, anyways, but with Perevalov, I think he's finally in a system that knows how to use him and will play him to his strengths, and that's not really something you get all the time in Russia.
Yeah, that is 100%. I mean, true. Because with Chychrun, it's weird because his draft year, a lot of the stuff that you would read about him is that offensively he's actually pretty decent because he was used as a fourth line forward, which is interesting for a guy who's 6'4" and not a forward. Oh, excuse me. It's weird to see him now being used in a much more like two-way game where he's being relied to play penalty kill and he's being relied to play like heavier even strength minutes, which I'm not complaining about. I'll gladly take a guy playing heavy even strength minutes. It's a very good way to develop. But it's weird to see that from him because he's not used to it. And that's probably the reason why he's fluctuated between the big league, or maybe not big league, but the Gold League MHL team and the Silver League MHL team, which I will still despise that there are two of them. Why? Who needs that? Who needs two separate leagues for this? Just do something else with it. And also, that's another thing because Loco, I don't believe, has a VHL team. It's a silver division or Silver League MHL side and a gold MHL side. They don't have a VHL team. I don't believe so.
So maybe that's why Chychrun just won't get called up. I mean, that's possible. It sucks, but it's possible.
I'm going to double check because I might be stupid, but we're going to find out. I don't think they do, though.
I'm not really like the expert on the depths of Russian hockey, to be honest with you. It's all...
I'm correct. I cannot... Yeah, Loco. They have Loco at the KHL. They have Loco 76,
right?
And Loco Yaroslavl. So
interesting. Which one's the silver team? Is it 76?
I believe it's Loco Yaroslavl because that team I see has Roman Lutsev and Yegor Shurin. So I would assume that's the big league team because Shurin's been fluctuating between KHL and that.
Gotcha.
I still struggle with some of this stuff from time to time, as we know. As if people, obviously, they follow the Canes Prospects account, I still struggle with all this stuff. It's very, very confusing.
I mean, it's complicated. Yeah, I don't think anybody's gonna blame you for that.
No, and that's a very good thing because it is tough. Let's keep it in Russia. We're not going to do all Russians, but definitely the other big topic besides the obvious big one that will conclude in 72-ish hours from now. We have the Canes have a few record breakers in the KHL and the VHL. Well, the VHL one is soon, and we'll do that one first. But speaking of the very fun to watch Andrei Krutov, if you ever have a chance to watch Torpedo Gorky, I do actually recommend it. They're a fun team, mainly Krutov, because his hands are sickening. They're unbelievably good. But he is, I believe, tied, which I'm going to get bit in the butt again off that if I assume, because somebody will look it up and they'll be like, actually, no, he's not. He's a goal back. And I'm going to be like, well, I
love the voice.
Yeah, I had my video performance class today, so I was on camera.
Oh.
So gotta tune in for that one, please.
An hour-long meeting.
Yeah, I think that sounds more fun than what I did today.
It was not, I assure you.
You never know. Thank God we filled time there. He is tied for the U19 VHL goal record, and he is tied with Nikita Chibrikov.
Okay.
Michkov only had 10.
Only.
Ivan Mirish, he only played 12 games. So
I know. Which is like, that's why I was like, I don't remember him playing that many.
Yeah. Ivan Miroshnichenko had 10 and 31. Fyodor Svechkov 9 and 30. Alexander Rykov 8 and 27 last year. Dmitry Vorenkov, what is that? 7 and 50. Gleb Trikozov 5 and 25. Just trying to like find the bigger names. Vitaly Kravtsov with 4, but he only played for 9 games. Valery Nichushkin 8 and 15. So he's up there with some great names.
Yeah, I mean, there's some noticeable names. I mean, like, at least a chunk of those guys have played NHL games. You know, I don't think any of them have really emerged as stars other than Michkov. But, you know,
I believe in Miroshnichenko though. I was a big fan of him during his.
I like him too. I think he could be, but you know,
I mean, and he's still. This isn't Caps prospects, but
it is not.
He's 21, so he's got time. But yeah, Krutov, I've talked about him more than I thought I was going to this year because 7th round picks, they don't. What just happened to my? Okay, both two of my screens just went black. I
saw that.
7th round picks normally don't get talked about a ton because they're late round picks. They're the most lottery ticket you could ever think of. And Krutov had only ever played in the MHL before this season. And, he had a very good year last year, 50 and 41. That's great for a 17-year-old. And then going into this year, my goodness gracious. He started, I want to say he started at the MHL, but he was like a 4th line forward. Let me see. No, he was VHL. And he got off to a god-awful start. 9 minutes, healthy scratch, 10 minutes. He was a -2, just bad. He gets sent down to the MHL, 3 points in a game, immediately called back up. Again, wasn't good. 5-21, 12-0. He gets an extended run in the MHL, does okay. Called back up, nothing. Sent back down, okay. And then he goes on the streak, is what I would like to call it. He has a stretch in the middle where he just tore it up. He was in the top 6 and he was very good. He was scoring at an incredibly high rate. He was doing good. He gets sent back down one more time and it happens. He scored. It's cool. 24 minutes of ice time though. That's a lot. Goes back up to the VHL, plays again really well, and then makes his KHL debut as an 18-year-old. Plays decently, 3 goals in 8 games, and then now he is just back to doing what he was doing before, which is terrorizing the VHL. 22 points, 15 goals, which is ridiculous in 34 games for a VHL rookie at 18.
Is this where we ask questions about whether or not he's selfish because he doesn't have that many assists?
I'm gonna let you sit with that one for a second.
Kidding.
And I know it's a somewhat serious question. It's
no, it's there. That is not serious at all. With Krutov, I remember. It had to be Dylan Griffin with Elite Prospects because nobody else really covers Russians.
Dylan's
I remember him having Krutov relatively high, I want to say, last year. I'll look it up. Don't you worry.
I'm already looking. This is just the Look It Up podcast now.
Well, I mean, that's what most podcasts are. So last year he was ranked 97th by Central Scouting. Wow. 135th by McKean's.
Yeah.
So I don't know where Dylan had him on his final board.
I'm gonna have to go.
The scouting report here is fascinating to me, where it says that he sees opposing defenders as cones to dangle around, and that's kind of the vibe I get when I watch him. Is he's just fun. Again, this is another guy who, like Paravolov, has a ton of skill. You know, with Krutov, I think the small area skill is really impressive. Like with the hands, you know, you hear the phrase like dangle in a phone booth. Like that's the small area
No,
skill.
no.
Uh, you know,
PTSD, no.
uh, PTSD for OG Canes fans is puck moving defenseman.
Oh god.
Ryan Murphy.
I was gonna say Ryan Murphy. Anytime
Yeah.
I hear Murphy nowadays, I can only think of Trevor Murphy, who plays in the KHL. And
That's
I'm
sicko behavior.
I got called a sicko because I was talking with someone about Sibir, and I mentioned we were talking about because we were looking at Canes preseason jerseys that never got wear, because we were talking specifically about when we both went to Whaler Night and saw
Yes.
Makiniemi, Petrowski, and
Podorowski, Makiniemi, and Julian Gauthier Whalers jerseys.
we saw those, and I was talking with somebody about like it had to be preseason jerseys, and there was a Beck Hurricanes. Could not tell you for the life of me who that was. My brain saw Beck and thought of a guy that plays for Sibir, who I don't think plays there now or still plays there in a very meaningless role.
Oh, my first thought is Beck Warm, the goalie.
Oh, he's still playing hockey somewhere. Okay, back on to Krutov.
I remember that. I remember having a bit on the Prospects account where I would say, like, wow, it's really great that Beck Warm tonight had a shutout and also Grammy-winning album Morning Phase.
That might be before my time.
It was 2015, I want to say.
Yeah, that's before my.
I meant 2015. Like was when he won the Grammy. Sorry, Beck Warm had to be.
Beck. Well, was that just the album? Like the artist was Beck.
Yeah, like Beck the artist. Beck was his first name, and Warm was the guy's last name.
Yeah.
Top 10 hockey name. I'll be honest. That's just a hilarious name. But anyways, enough of that. So.
Legendary tangents.
I was gonna say with Krutov, like, you know, for a guy that was drafted 220th overall, you know, it's very interesting seeing how well he's done at pretty much all levels this year. I mean, you know, he's just under a point per game at the MHL level. He's 22 points in 34 VHL games, and then 3 goals in 8 KHL games. I mean, that is solid. That is a solid body of work for a guy who, you know, wasn't really on many teams' radars if he was drafted to 20th, you know?
Yeah. I did actually find where Dylan Griffin had him, and it was just based out of Russians. Any Russian draft eligible players, he was 15th.
Okay. And he definitely wasn't the 15th Russian taken because Carolina drafted about 15 of them.
They only drafted 4. Okay. It's one of those ones I just remember off the top of my head. I want to see. Right. I shouldn't, but how many?
I'll look it up while you talk.
Oh, great. Putting me on the spot. Thanks, man. That's appreciated. Yeah, he's definitely caught me off guard with what he has done this year, and I'm obviously really happy for him. I don't know if he'll get in more KHL games. My screens just went. All right. I don't know if he'll get in more KHL games. I'd obviously like him to. I think it'd be really good for him, but obviously he played 2 minutes and 52 seconds in his last game. Probably, I'm okay with him shooting 11 times. He shot 11 times in his last VHL game. One of them went in, and it was Torpedo Corky's only goal. But 11 shots in 16 minutes is downright ridiculous, first up. I think that's insane. But with Krutov, I just want to keep seeing him do what he's doing. Breaking the record, obviously kind of cool. I think that'd be awesome. I think next year he'll be in line for a bigger role with Torpedo. I think he'll probably get a lot more looks. I don't know if he'll be like guaranteed a spot. Nobody's guaranteed a spot ever. That's unheard of. But I definitely think I'm liking a lot of his progress, and I feel as if we talk about him almost every podcast now.
Yeah. For reference, there were 26 Russians drafted. He was number
I
26.
was gonna say, yeah.
That does not include like one or two players from Belarus who I would assume would also go into that category just because they're probably playing in the KHL or like, the Russian league.
I would be kind of careful about that because there is the Belarus League.
Right, but sometimes it feeds into the so the one that I found was Pavel Moisevich,
Yeah, he's KHL.
who's playing with SKA right now.
Well, not anymore, but yeah.
What do you mean not anymore?
I think he's hurt.
Well, he's playing with SKA this year. So my point there is like, close to 30 players from that area drafted. And, so for him to fall 11 spots technically, like that's impressive for the Canes to get that kind of value.
Oh, he's not hurt. Oh, the SKA's goalie situation this year has been what I would like to call the Pandora's box of agony and despair, where it's just been
that is what was in Pandora's box,
agony and despair.
among other things, but yes.
Yeah, it's been disgustingly bad. So, and the team itself this year has been disgustingly bad. For their standards, let me make that abundantly clear. For SKA standards, they have been bad. Like,
yeah, they were like 7th, I think, in their conference.
They're still hovering 7th, I want to say right now. I have it pulled up. Right now they are.
I don't think it matters, just for the sake of this.
It is. They are 7th. They're 25 and 23, and technically it does, because we're talking about another SKA player here in a second, and we'll just do it now.
Timur Cole.
Dude, he's still the 7th defenseman getting no time. It's sick.
I know.
And by sick, I mean awful. Yeah, no. They're just heavy mid, and they have to rely on this guy, Timur Cole. No, they have to rely on their captain, their 23-year-old captain, who is the greatest player in France, or greatest defenseman. We're gonna get there in the end. Greatest defenseman in franchise history, where he now owns almost every single record, every single important one, anyways. Points, goals, assists. He's got the trifecta. That's Alexander Nikishin. That's his name. See, I'll get there eventually.
Who?
We're not doing this. He's he turned in another just absolutely crazy performance today. Got a secondary assist on the power play where he just basically touched the puck to Demidov and said, "You do all the work." And shockingly, he did all the work. And then overtime, he got a clear after just grabbing the puck out of midair, which I thought was sick. He got a shot block that led to a clear on the penalty kill, and scored the game-winning goal. I guess that's kind of important too.
Yeah, somewhat, right? I mean, Nikishin, I think you posted it on the prospects account, but like, this is why he wears the C there.
He understands when. That's the big thing. It's like the knowledge of like, okay, my team is still struggling. We're going into overtime on the penalty kill because of a very stupid penalty to take. And I truly mean that. It was a bad penalty. And he understood what he needed to do, and he did it, and he got rewarded and won them the game.
So 2 years ago, when I was watching Nikishin's first year with SKA, he was chasing a lot of hits, getting himself out of position. He was scoring a ton of points. But I would say he was playing a lot more like a person that was his defensive partner at one point this year.
Who's that, Matt?
I refuse to say because I don't want virgins in my mentions.
That one's hovering on a cut, but we're gonna keep that.
Anyways, so over time we've kind of seen him mature as a player. I still think sometimes he does kind of get out of position chasing the hit, and like, we're going to have to work on that. Like, everybody's penciling him in with Jacob Slavin, and it's possible, but Alexander Nikishin's a left shot defenseman. People forget that. Like, there's a good chance. I mean, Nick, I don't want to get you too excited, but the thought has crossed my mind of an Alexander Nikishin and Scott Morrow pairing.
Yeah, it's crossed mine too. I don't trust it at all. I don't.
I think it'd be fun.
Oh, fun.
Oh, it'd
Yeah,
be
there's
so
none
fun
other.
because you'd have first of all the offense that pairing could generate. Hold me now.
Yeah, that'd be great. And then if Nikishin jumps, we get to watch Scott Morrow, which, he's gotten a
Who
lot
cares?
better,
Who
but
cares? Both of them are just going to fire pucks at the net, and it's going to go through, and it's going to be great. You cannot convince me otherwise. No, but seriously, Nikishin's been great. I love him to death. Canes fans, I feel bad for you because it's like every time you post about him, Canes fans are just like,
dude,
it's
oh
either
my
like, God,
god.
I hate Brent Burns, which is just not related to the conversation in general,
Yeah, but Scott Morrow gets that one too.
or it's just like, why can't we have him now? As if we haven't explained why we can't have him now.
Yeah, I had a great example about like 2 hours ago
I
where
saw that.
I'm trying to explain like, if it happens, don't expect him to debut until next year because of time. Time is a B word.
Oh no, I would say he debuts this year. I say one of the ways they're going to get him over is to have him at least debut in the playoffs to burn the year of his ELC.
And then I'm just gonna ignore that for
No,
my
because
own.
seriously, I think like if you tell him like, hey, you're only going to have 1 year on the rookie deal before you get your big paycheck, like that's a lot more palatable
I
to
mean,
him.
I guess maybe, but
That's my thought.
again, that's also if it happens, and I had to explain that you know it's one of those things. Nothing is done until it is done. Hello, Mason Marchment in 23, 22. I can't remember what year it was.
Ooh, yeah.
That's a
Holy
that's a.
crap. I forgot about that. Where
I was
all of
so
a sudden he
ecstatic.
just swerved the Canes and
I
was
was
like,
that
nah,
was
signing in Dallas.
dude. I actually really wanted Mason Marchment. I thought that was a sick ad, and
Yeah,
then
it's worked out okay, I think, in hindsight.
eh, I mean, yeah, I guess going
Oh, excuse
from
me, sorry. I should
a
have muted.
I I mean, we're having an all-timer tonight. It doesn't really
This
matter.
is one of the podcasts of all time.
I mean, yeah, I guess now you have Miko Rantanen and, Jackson Blake. I don't know why I said him second. Taylor Hall, Seth Jarvis, just this like litany of forwards. So, I guess it has worked out. I really do like Mason Marchment as a player, so I had over that. And I think it was weird because later that day was that the year they got Pacioretty, or was that a different year? I can't remember. Actually, I think Marchment was. I don't know. I don't know why I'm really talking about Mason Marchment. It just popped into my head. With Nikishin also in his game against Dynamo Minsk, he had 10 shots on goal. There's also two other games I can see immediately where he had 7 and 6.
My man just has seen D'Angelo leave and is just like, all right,
Who?
it's
Matthew,
time.
you said you weren't going to say his name.
I wasn't going to make the comparison.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, he saw D'Angelo leave and was like, all right, it's time to just let it rip every night now.
Yeah, he's definitely not afraid to shoot. And I think that's also I mean, obviously you've seen his shot. If he gets the opportunity to shoot and he can put his whole body weight into it, somebody's getting hurt. That thing, it's a little nuke, a little rubber piece of a nuke. It will hurt. It will hurt very bad. And I'm trying to just fill time here to see. Yeah, he is still. Oh, Trevor Murphy, caught up in ice time. Nikishin's still averaging 24 and a half a night, but which is little crazy because that's a lot, and it's a lot especially for a kid, and I can say kid because he's 23 years old. He's a captain of the big team at 23. Did you know that?
Well, so, and I was also going to say, like, the thing that separates Nikishin's shot from, like, let's say, you know what? I'm going to use a Canes example that's going to be topical.
Ooh,
Dmitry Orlov.
I think he hurt somebody on the shot tonight.
Wouldn't shock me.
It was Christian Fischer. He ate a shot and
Ugh.
don't think he returned.
Orlov has what I would refer to, longtime Canes fans might remember this, an Anton Babchuk slap shot.
Dear God, dude.
And what I mean by that is it's probably one of the hardest shots you've ever seen. You have no idea where that thing's going. Not a clue. That thing could be a perfectly placed snipe, or it could miss the net by. It's like the kid from Mighty Ducks, where it's like 1 in 10, right? And all the players like dive out of the way, and it like hits the goalie in the chest, and it like hits him so hard he like falls back into the net, and, like, or like rips a hole in the back of the net. It's like that's how hard the Orlov and Babchuk shoot. It's just not accurate at all.
Yeah.
And so what separates Nikishin,
okay, never mind,
is it's accurate, and like he can get his shots through. And again, I hate to say this, it's like prime Brent Burns. It really is, because prime Brent Burns was getting shots through like crazy and was scoring at a forward's pace as a defenseman. So, I'm not saying Nikishin's going to put up like 70, 80 points like Burns did, but I'm saying that, like the way he uses his shot to create offense is, I mean, it's going to be a threat at the next level. You are actually going to have to defend it.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
It could allow him to run a power play at the NHL level because he's got the hockey sense to also make the passes and the plays like that.
I mean, I think at this point I'd fully expect him to get a power play unit because, he's already running he is now running the top power play unit in St. Petersburg, and it's actually doing a lot better now than it was a few months ago. Couldn't tell you what's going on there, but yeah, he it's kind of fun watching some of his goals from the blue line, and if they're slap shots, he had 2 that just picked the bottom corners, and it's like, how can you do that and get insane power on him and get that pinpoint level of accuracy? It's kind of crazy, and it's definitely going to let him open up a lot of things because you're going to have to close out on that shot, and if you get hit by it, we'll be seeing you in like 2 weeks. So yeah, the last record breaker, and I thought this was going to be a shorter episode. We're at 45 and still have another thing to go. So we're already off to a great start. We have a top 5 KHL U20 point getter of all time. We have the current record holder of the top U20 scoring season with 21 goals, and that's still growing. He'll probably finish top 4. I don't know if there's no way he's catching Demidov because Demidov's at 49, and that's 12 more, and he has 7 games. Not happening. But he's still going to end up with a very good season. Now, we're obviously talking about Nikita Artymonov, the second-round pick from this past draft. And what I like about Artymonov is his shooting percentage has been high this year. I think it's hovering around 20 to 25, and it's hovered around that all year. And it hasn't dropped. He's continued to score, which I really like. Everything about him is just kind of if you could ever imagine Rod Brindamore in a Russian laboratory, just like closing his eyes like Doctor Strange and kind of just picking out parts of players to create a guy, it would just slowly turn into Nikita Artymonov, like Frankenstein. It'd be kind of weird, but he's a Rod Brindamore player through and through, and he's scoring at a really good rate. And he's been up and down Torpedo's depth chart a lot this year. He's been the 13th forward. He's played 20 minutes a night at points, and he's played, 8. Or he played 9 and scored a hat trick. So
I was gonna say, it feels like every time he gets put as a 13th forward, he's scoring. It's like he has like a personal vendetta against being the 13th forward.
He looked Igor Larionov in the eyes after scoring as a guy getting 9 minutes of ice time, and he's like, "Yeah, I got you, buddy."
I
Um,
think with Artemonov, what's interesting about him is he's not like a ton of Kane's prospects. Like he,
explain.
so like okay, he fits the mold in the sense like he skates well, has the good hockey sense, but the way he plays is very different. There's a lot of Kane's prospects that are like the super high skill, like the you know they're gonna win with the skill. Like we've been trying to inject that into the lineup a lot. Artemonov is more of like the gritty, grinded out, like he's gonna work for his goals. A lot of his stuff comes from around the crease. Yes, some of it comes off the rush, but he plays kind of like what we had hoped Michael Bunting would be. Again, that's the comparison
Hey,
that's
that's
been
my
used.
comparison.
It's been used for him since the draft. It's like
Yeah, who called him Russian Michael Bunting when doing a review?
I can't remember.
Me.
Was it you? Okay,
It
I really
was.
don't remember. I'm
Because
sorry.
I wrote a thing about him saying that he would be fun if the Canes drafted him. And you know what happened? They drafted him, and I
And
felt
he's
vindicated.
he do be fun. I will say that.
Yeah.
I think it's one of those things where like the skill doesn't like jump off the page at you. I guess is what I'm trying to say. Like it does for a Krutov, Paravolov, Bradley Nadeau with his shot. I would say like the prospect that I think plays the most like him is Justin Robidas.
I actually don't hate that. Yeah. That works.
Like Robidas obviously has to work a little harder because he's a bit smaller, but I mean, first AHL season he's putting up 40 points. Like
First Wolf player to 40 points.
yeah, like and that's a team that's getting scoring from pretty much
Oh,
everywhere.
yeah. The rookies have definitely carried that team. Not carried. I shouldn't
So
say carried.
sorry, we're talking about Artemonov. I don't want to get too sidetracked. Um, the last thing I'll say about Artemonov is, and I know you've been doing this too, is I caution people to put too high of expectations on a player right away.
Yeah, we've had a few people be like, "Oh, is this the next like big hype Russian
Is he
prospect?"
the next Nikishin? And
I'm going, no, dear
that'd
God,
be
please don't do
awesome.
that.
I would love if we could get that again.
Who's? I mean, we're gonna put that on you. As much
I'm
I
not
love.
running the account anymore. I don't care.
You still get notifications. So I don't want to hear
Yeah, but I don't have to like read them.
it.
So
Yeah,
they just pop up on my phone and I just go swipe. Um so with Artemonov though, like, the way he plays, like, you know, that style of play doesn't often result in 70 points. It can result in 50, maybe not more than that though. So I just caution people. Same with Justin Poirier. I don't know if we're going to talk about him, but like
not today. No,
people see Justin Poirier scoring 40 some odd goals and are like, "Oh my god." And I'm like, "It's the
we need to have a.
QMJHL.
I was gonna say we gotta have a conversation about the
We
QMJHL,
need to
man.
start a dialogue." And again, I cannot contractually say negative things about other leagues.
So be real careful here. I don't want to edit this as much as I already have to.
I would just caution people. Like, yes, Poirier is doing amazing work, and could he become an NHL goal scorer? Sure. He was also what, like a fifth round pick, fourth round?
Fifth.
Yeah, so
Ooh.
like, the odds aren't exactly in his favor. I could not tell you. I think the last Canes fifth round pick to play NHL games was Rasmus Rissinen.
Um, that's
Once again,
I'm already knowing it. Let's see. Jackson Blake was fourth. That was
correct.
close. Um E2 Makiniemi fourth, and he did play 2 games. So did he get a Whalers night?
Makiniemi never played with the Canes.
He suited up for 2. So that's my thing.
I don't think he never with the Hurricanes though.
Yeah. Oh yeah, Nicholas Waugh was a 4th. Clark Bishop.
You know what? That's so true. Clark Bishop is the last Carolina Hurricanes 5th round pick to play in NHL games.
The other one that I can immediately see is Brendan Woods. Rasmus Rissanen was actually a 6th, by the way.
What'd you say?
Rissanen was a 6th.
Oh, Rissanen was a 6th. Okay.
Oh god, and then Chris Terry was the other 5th.
Brendan Woods did play in 7 games, 0 points. Brody Sutter played in 12 games. I can't remember if that was with the Canes or not. I would imagine it would be though.
I think
as a 7th round pick. And then you know what? 2010, Frederick Anderson.
Oh yeah,
506 sure. NHL, 507 if HockeyDB hasn't updated. NHL games played.
And I will really quickly, because again, we somehow keep doing this thing where we go off on these fun tangents. And honestly, it's awesome. But fifth, I do think there are, just looking at recent drafts from 21 on, there are definitely guys that could do it. I think Robidas will. I don't want to say he 100% will, but I think there's a very good chance he will play NHL games in the future, because there's a lot of very good things to like. The other 5th round pick in 21 was Robert Orr, who I was reminded of recently.
Bobby Orr.
Well, yeah, sure. Vladimir Grudinin, depending on how development goes in North America, if he does end up coming to North America, I think if his defense can hold up, I definitely think there's a pathway to the NHL there, even though he is a little bit smaller. But defense will always work out. If you can play defense as a defenseman, people are going to like you. It's just one of those things that happens, hopefully. But obviously, the height is like, somebody might kill. Wait, that might no. They're just not going to be happy to see a 5 next to your name instead of a 6. And then in 23, you got Hajayev, which I'm going to start drilling into my head that's how you pronounce it. I think there's a chance in multiple years down the line that he could play NHL games. And then Charles Alexis Legault, I think there's a chance a few years down the line where he'll play NHL games. So
yeah. Oh no, I know. I think the Canes are doing a better job overall of finding those projectable players in the later rounds. That HockeyDB, I just went through old drafts and whoa, not great.
That's a whole episode in itself if we ever wanted to do that, because that would take.
So this would have been before your time.
Before I was born, or before I was into hockey?
Not before you were born. I haven't been doing this stuff that long.
Just had to double check.
This would have been like 2016 blog, 2017-ish. This would have been like early Calm Before the Storm, right? Throwback to that site.
Ooh-wee.
That site has been lost to time now. I'm very sad. I may have saved this piece. I saved a few of like my favorite articles from there on Google Drive. Just I've not looked at them since the site went offline.
That's got to be something else we do, because I feel as if that'd be hilarious. We can do that and then go through, because I did it a little bit recently. We can go through some of my first prospect
Cardiac Cane articles.
I looked at my Dominic Bach one, which kind of hurt me, and then
listen, we've all been wrong. I'm still waiting on Tuukka Tuiaksala to be great.
My other one, and then I did like guys I thought could be called up, and number 1 was Seth Jarvis.
Hey, you know what? That worked out.
Number 4 was David Cotton.
Anyways, like I did a deep dive on like all of Carolina's draft history since coming to North Carolina. And I tried to find as much information as I could. And it's ugly. Like there are periods of time, like between it was so 97 they drafted Shane Willis
That's
in
worked out in other regards.
in the 4th round, who would have probably had a decent career had it not been for Scott Stevens.
Hmm.
That
I mean,
was
to
kind
be
of
fair for Shane, it's kind of worked out.
yeah, but they picked 22nd, and then this was a 2nd round pick at the time, 28th overall. Those two picks have a combined 11 NHL games.
Ugh.
The next draft was a good one. Jeff Hirama never really played. Their 3rd round pick never played. But Eric Cole had almost 900 NHL games, solid career. And Josef Vasicek had a decent career as like a depth player, but obviously rest in peace there. And then even Tommy Westland apparently had over 200 games as their 4th round pick. But then you get Dave Tanabe.
We're really doing this right now.
They basically, it was like, the point I was trying to make is like, the rest of their drafts is like they would get one player and then the rest of their picks would be awful. And then like their 2001 draft, they got nobody. 2002 was Cam Ward. That worked out pretty well, I would say. 2003 was Eric Stahl. I'd say that worked out as well. So, they didn't do a great job of drafting, especially in like the early 2010s or like the 2009, 8 to 11 range. So, anyways, that was my whole fun.
We're almost at the hour mark. We still got one more thing to go. It's 10
Oh,
o'clock.
do we? I'm sorry.
I just didn't want to do the whole thing right now.
That's all right. We don't have to, but I just I will find a way to find that, or
that could be like a really fun like off-season thing we do.
I'll lock in on a weekend and just like write a bunch of stuff down.
I think it'd be a fun thing to do in like the off season when there's just nothing going on. You just sneak in like that as just like a fun little one off.
Oh, of course.
Yeah. The last thing that I did want to just briefly talk about, even though we're that sounds like we're Costco guys, but we're prospect guys. Of course, we watch.
Do we also bring the boom?
No, we watch Hockey Etten for fun.
No, we don't.
Yeah. Nils Juntorp supporters out there, he knows of us and he loves us. Just know that. Caught me off guard today, but it was definitely caught me off guard. But yeah, the trade deadline is coming up. The last time we recorded was obviously like right after the Rantanen trade happened. And now we're 72 hours away from the deadline. And prospect guys, we're always a little bit different when it comes to the deadline, especially in my eyes. What I've kind of realized is that we want the NHL team to succeed. That's always your number one thing, that you want them to win. At that same point, some guys, unless you're going out to get a true difference maker, I'm like, maybe we don't need to do that. My favorite one recently has been a lot of people, and I truly mean a lot of people, have been like, yo, let's trade Nadeau. And every time I see it, I want to punch my phone. I get very viscerally angry every time I see something like that, because I'm like, why? You could have a homegrown 40-goal NHL scorer, and you want to ship him out for what? What are you gonna do there? It's stupid. Or people that still want to move Scott Morrow, and I'm like, dude, no.
Everybody's available for the right price. So
yeah, I'm going to stress the right price there.
Well, right. So, let's take it to the 2020 trade deadline.
You can just do last year if you really want to be easy.
We can do last year, but I'm taking 2020 because Charlotte is right off of winning a Calder Cup.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Did you hurt yourself?
I got a calf cramp.
Oh. Ouch. Drink water.
I don't have any upstairs.
Anyways, I'll continue while you suffer. So going to the 2020 trade deadline, the Hurricanes trade Yannick Wokanen, who was looking like he would be like the next really good third line, maybe even second line player for the Hurricanes. He was killing it in the AHL, was a really big part of the Charlotte's Calder Cup run. They traded him for Sami Vatanen, which didn't work out.
I really like Sami Vatanen. Okay,
You can like him all you
he
want.
was finished Tony DeAngelo before Tony DeAngelo was a Hurricane.
That's fair. They traded a first-round pick in 2020 for Brady Shea. They had 2 at the time.
And that turned out to be Schneider, who they want to move anyways. So
yeah, and then ours was Jarvis, so that worked out.
Suckers.
And then they traded Lucas Wallmark, who was a fourth-line center for the Hurricanes, Eetu Luostarinen, who was, in my opinion, going to be the 3 to 4C of the Canes' future, and has obviously won a cup with Florida and turned out a really nice career for himself.
Yes, he has.
And then Chase Priskie, who at the time when the Canes signed him was a really good D prospect, did not really age that well.
Correct.
As most college free agents do.
With Hershey, that's where he is now.
Yeah, so, they trade 2 of their top prospects, a first-round pick, 2 roster players, because Haula was also in the Trocheck deal, and then kind of like a C-tier prospect in Priskie.
Yeah.
Nobody's untouchable. Last year's deadline, they traded Ponomarev, they traded Cruz Lucius, and who else did they trade?
How do you not know the current AHL?
Oh, Ville Koivunen. Yeah, I was like, there's a Finn in there somewhere. Ville Koivunen.
Who I was probably the most upset about, but then again, they didn't lose Morrow, so I was like, yeah, I'm chill.
This is why the Hurricanes stockpile draft picks, and it's so that they can use the prospects to trade instead of the draft picks. Draft picks are obviously more valuable to NHL teams because
they get to pick the guys they want.
Right, they get to pick their guy. Like not every team is going to be as high on, because we've talked about him so much this pod, Andrei Krutov, as we are.
Yeah. And then if you have a guy that does rise up, let's say Andrei Krutov, the value of him will go up from where he was at the start of the year, which was 2024 7th, to where he is now, which is definitely more than 2024 7th.
Yeah. So, like, I look at it as this way. Like, the reason you stockpile all these prospects, the reason you develop and you put such a focus on development like the Hurricanes have, I'm going to switch this to baseball here. The Boston Red Sox traded like 12 prospects at the deadline this past year. Didn't mean jack squat for them. They finished like 4th in the AL East. However, flash forward to now, they still have the number 1 farm system in all of baseball after trading like 11 prospects. I'm serious. It was like 11 players. So that's why you keep all this good talent, and that's why, Justin Robida has probably tripled his value this year. He went from a guy that probably would be a throw-in a trade to be like, I would consider like
low B,
like a B- level prospect, because just because of the size, not every team's going to rock with that.
Yeah, but you with that as well, you just go, hey, he still has 40 points in his rookie year, and they go, he's still...
Yeah, with Bradley Nadeau, the way he's been playing, he's a blue-chip prospect now.
I was going to say, he's definitely an A at this point.
Yeah, he and Scott Morrow. If it can bring you a premier name,
yeah,
you explore those options. Like, that's why, as somebody who covered prospects, and you obviously are doing it now, very few prospects around the league are untouchable. We see that. Like, Alexander Nikishin is the only prospect in the Hurricane system that's untouchable, as far as we know. Like, that they have explicitly come out and say, hell no.
Yeah.
Which, if, again, just to give a little bit of optimism for this podcast, Nikishin would absolutely be on the trade block this deadline if they were convinced he would not sign here.
Oh, yeah. Again, when
I'm
the
just saying.
GM comes out and says all that stuff, it's probably
Oh no, for sure. I'm just saying for the people that like to panic, like just know it's okay.
yeah.
So, anyways, like don't get attached to prospects. People were so mad when Julian Gauthier got traded.
I was
They were
partially one of
so
those.
mad. Fuming. My mentions were a dumpster fire. When Nedeljkovic got traded, oh my god.
I was definitely one of those people.
Look at the careers those two guys have had since then.
Gauthier has been, he's
Yeah.
isn't he getting saved by Lou right now? He's with the Islanders still, or is he in Ottawa?
I think he's in. I don't know. I don't care.
I think that's probably proves the point, but
I was never a Gauthier fan. Jake Bean got traded. Like it's just you can't get attached to prospects. If they make the NHL, like Jackson Blake.
yeah.
I think last year when the Gensel trade was going down, I was kind of preparing myself to be like, oh, Jackson Blake, time to go. Get ready to learn Pittsburgh, buddy. But he did, and now he's in the NHL. I think he's doing really well for himself. So, like,
yeah.
I can't get attached to prospects. I can't. I've learned that after getting attached to guys like Eetu Luostarinen and Tuukka Tiaksala, like, it's everybody's available for a certain price. That's how hockey works.
It's kind of like I don't know who had it. There was like a really popular tweet a while ago that everybody has an emotional support fourth liner. And I kind of just equate that to at least people in my world or our world have an emotional support prospect. It's just one of those
fans have like 40 emotional support fourth liners.
Oh, that's because the NHL.
Greg McKegg, Saku Menelanen.
Yeah,
like there's we could go on and name them, and I'm sitting there like these guys are all like replacement level forwards. What do you mean?
Yeah. Well, the emotional support prospect, if they trade Velmakin, I might combust.
That's a tough one because he's just like legitimately nice dude.
He is. He's a nice dude, and that's another whole thing. But yeah, it's definitely one of those things, and it's the only reason why I say that is because I've been asked a few times on social media and on other podcasts, like, who are guys that could get traded, or who are guys that you see as untouchable, or stuff like that. And I just kind of go, it's awkward for me to answer those questions because, well, one, I don't know. I don't work for the Hurricanes yet. But I don't know it, but I always like to kind of give just a broad answer of like, they're never going to trade Nikishin. That's their prized possession. That's the guy they would put on
he's their emotional support prospect.
Yeah, if Eric Tulsky somewhere in his office just has like, and just Nikishin written somewhere, just smiles at it every day. Just
that's like he's the picture, and he's like his headshot with Scott, just a fun of white boy.
It's the Wolverine where he's in bed with the little picture frame, but it's Eric Tulsky at his desk just looking at it, and it's just his headshot. Like, we're getting there, buddy.
Man.
But outside of that, it's like it could happen, but especially with the names available right now, at least the ones that are widely known, like well, the first one that came to mind was Jake Evans, but he's signed today, which that's a whole other thing.
And Evans is like a fourth line center on a good team.
Yeah, and now he's a third line center on Montreal.
Yeah, I mean, listen, Montreal's taken a lot of strides, but like, there's always like, oh, there could be a name that's not available yet, and like very rarely does that like happen. Do we see like a huge blockbuster where like
the only one? I mean, the only one was, I guess, Rantanen, but even then, you still had people saying, it could happen because Colorado, if I could speak, they were always going to operate with a hard internal cap for now. But like I think Trocheck would classify as that because not many people saw him.
That
Shea
came out of
definitely.
nowhere. I would
Brady
say
Shea
Shea came
definitely.
out
Yeah.
of nowhere. Um,
Trying to
and
think.
then
Would you say no? Gensel was known.
well, I mean, even in this year's draft or free agency, excuse me, it's like one of the top forwards is already off the board in Taylor Hall.
Yeah, and the other top forward that had a chance to be moved was Mikko Rantanen, and he's also off the board. Shocker. I think
Not
who
according
have they
to
been playing
every
around?
analyst ever. And
I don't either.
my tinfoil hat here, conspiracy theory is this is a really boring deadline because there's a
Oh, it's
lot of
gonna
teams.
suck.
There's a lot of teams in like the middle that don't want to sell because they have a chance, right? You know, so there's like no team selling right now.
It's like
So
Pittsburgh, Buffalo.
it's the teams that you would expect, but like a lot of the teams in the middle don't want to move any players.
Yeah,
So
I
like
can't wait
this
to.
is a super boring deadline. So they got to think of something to write about.
Yeah,
Mikko Rantanen hasn't signed yet. Oh my god.
yeah.
We've had like 17 stories from insiders the past few days that have all said the same thing. Well, we don't know what Carolina's doing. Teams have called them. They haven't called back.
I saw somebody do the severance thing where because there was one recently where it was the
You'll have to
Devils.
explain this to me. I have not
So
watched
I
Severance.
haven't either, but I know I the picture was funny. It was talking about the Devils because they just lost Hughes, who's probably going to have surgery. And in that they go, they've called the Hurricanes like, hey, if you're going to get rid of Rantanen, call us back. And the image is just one of the people from Severance, and all it says is "they dumb?" And I got a good chuckle out of that. This deadline, we say it every year. A lot of people say it every year. It's just gonna be really boring. This year, you might. I mean, who's excited to watch the Brandon Tanev sweepstakes? Me. Where's Brandon Tanev gonna go? Is it gonna be Ottawa? Ooh. Like, I mean, maybe
and
Alex
there's
Tuch.
not even like there's always going to be a couple prospects traded at the deadline, but like
You're not going to see anybody of actual intrigue. That's the big thing.
yeah.
Maybe like a couple college free agents that
I was gonna
college guys.
say we're getting dangerously close to college free agency.
Yeah, that will be another thing that we'll probably have to touch on because I mean we've seen the past few years the Canes have used college free agency obviously with Peretz. That was their big one. Were they in on Colin Graff and the other guy from
So the
Quinnipiac?
Canes usually aren't in on those players. One because their prospect pool is so deep. Like you're not really, and the team's good right now, so you're not really going to get NHL minutes. Like a lot of these guys want to go where they're going to play right away.
Oh, okay.
Or they're going to want to go play for Boston, Pittsburgh, Minnesota, like teams where they like Detroit, teams where they grew up.
Yeah, the one I remember vividly because he plays in the SHL now is Bobby Trevigno.
Yeah, him signing with the Rangers was like a huge deal, and then he wasn't good.
He's now in the SHL.
Yeah. Oh God, what's the guy's name? He's been all over the place. Northeastern had like a trio of players like
Only
I can't
Northeastern
think of
guy I
their
know off the top of
names.
my head is Justin Ritzkovian.
No, he's actually good. God, I can't think of it, but one of them won the Hobie, and all of them have been kind of mid. Dylan Sakura was one of them.
Wow, that's a name.
He's and they've all been like kind of mid NHL players, or like some
Adam
of them haven't even
Gaudette.
got. What'd you say?
Adam
Gaudette. That was it.
So that's the 2017-18 Northeastern hockey team.
And that team was good.
Well, yeah, when you have a guy win the... I also just saw Will Butcher was one of the winners too, so...
TBT.
I mean, wow,
and
that team actually...
Nolan Stevens was the other one.
Oh, yeah. Caden Premu was on that team.
And Stevens never played much more than like
Matt Felipe. Sorry.
yeah, Matt Philippe, former Canes prospect.
Oh
That's
my.
why I knew who. That's why I knew about this. So like, I think Akito Hirose was one of like the top free agents one year. Like, um, it's never great players. Like I looked at the it's there's a reason these players make it to college free agency a lot of the time.
Let
Like
me see.
usually the issue is foot speed. Like
Mm,
or that they don't have like game breaking skill, you know. So
yeah.
I mean, I would just look at the Canes history of signing college free agents.
Has it just been Peretz? Because LaFontaine doesn't count, but Peretz is the one I remember.
Peretz, Jacob Pritchard, who
Oh
was an
wow,
ECHL player, uh, who was Jason Cotton.
oh yeah, because they drafted David, didn't they?
They did, and to sign him, to coax him into signing, they signed his
Hey,
brother.
I actually enjoyed that Wolves team, so
Well,
let's
sure, but David
let's chill
Cotton
out.
lost his job on that team. Anyways, that's beside the point. Then you have nobody really prior to that. Andrew Podorowski was like all things considered, probably the most success you could ever hope for from one of those guys that without playing NHL games. Like he was good. He won you a Calder Cup. He's been consistently one of the best scorers in the AHL. He's won the organization 2 Calder Cups, right? He was with Chicago a few years ago too.
Yeah, he was
Yeah.
yeah, because I
Okay, so
remember
he's won the organization
Charleston
2 Calder
Mason
Cups.
was the big one.
So he's obviously a player that like has had success at the pro level, just never the NHL level.
Yeah.
College free agency is useless. It's overblown because there's nothing to talk about between the trade deadline and the playoffs.
I don't disagree. I immediately went to the Corey Pronman's list because he does do a list, even though sometimes it's not completely up to date because one of his third place guy got signed before this article was released, and but the first one is Carson Dorwart at Michigan State, and immediately it's he has skill, but he's not dynamic. His compete levels is not super high, and it's like, well, what's the point?
Yeah.
Next guy is a 26-year-old left-handed defenseman from Finland. And then Daniel Imerson, who actually was the guy that got signed by Severstal, but I actually really like him as a player. I think he's actually really good. But like a lot of these guys are like, eh. The only guy. Well, also there's another Gleb that the Canes could sign,
There is another Gleb if they want to increase their
but
Gleb per
I'm
60.
pretty sure he's been signed with Boston for like a month now. And but like the only guy that I think I will put it in big, like I think you should always at least look just to see maybe there's something out there. You never know, but it is a crapshoot most of the time. I do, and it's partly because I've seen him in person a few times, and I've seen him a few times this year. But Albin Boya of Maine, he's a
Mhm.
slightly smaller goalie. He's like 6 foot, 6'1". He's very sound though. He's been main starter for the past 2 years, and he's been really good. I mean, and obviously Canes didn't draft a guy last year. Maybe they could sign a guy. I think if you want to, you could. I think it's definitely an intriguing thing. Um, that's about it though. Other than that, it's just pu stinky.
Um, so I'm trying to. I doubt I'll be able to find it. Last year's rankings for international players.
Yeah. Good luck.
Yeah, so I don't think I'll be able to do that. However, what I'm curious to know if Juha Jaska was on that list.
Oh, that's actually.
Because the reason I say that is because, you can make all these lists that you want, but teams have very different pro scouting departments. Like their pro scouting departments work very differently than the amateur side. Like,
I found the one for 23.
okay, so
I
maybe.
don't think.
But I was gonna say Yaska was probably on zero people's radars, and because he hadn't really had that great of a career up until then. And I mean, would I say that he had a great NHL stint with the Hurricanes? No.
He's had a great stint with Chicago. I'm
Yeah, I
like,
mean, he was
oh,
a
Akito Hirosh.
serviceable fourth line depth call up for the Hurricanes. 17 games, 4 assists, and then he's like a half point per game player in the AHL. Like, all things considered, like, as to get any games out of a European free agent that you're signing, like, great. So just to keep in mind, like, you see these lists and you'll probably see the Hurricanes sign some rando, over the next 2 months.
I found what I was looking for though.
And then you'll be pleasantly surprised, like we were when Saku Manalainen played in his handful of NHL games. Like,
Yeah,
you gotta. That's why pro scouting's important. Anyways, we're at like an hour and a half. Nick, I'm
I
sorry
know
for
it
going on all these
keeps
tangents.
happening. But also I'm looking through this list and there are like not a lot because his number one guy last year was Colin Graff, who's I think played in the AHL most of the
Yeah,
time.
he's been with the Barracuda for most of this year.
His second guy is a guy who's played in the NHL the entire year, and I actually really like is Maxim Siplikov.
Yeah, Siplikov probably should have been higher on. Probably should have been number one.
Yeah, and then 4 was Jacob Quillian, who's AHL with Toronto,
AHL depth.
And then Cooper Black, who is 6'9" and a goalie.
And I don't remember if he signed or not. Did he?
He did. He signed with Florida. He played in a preseason game and actually looked pretty solid. I know this for a fact because I see a lot of Florida prospect stuff.
Current Charlotte checker.
And he's actually doing pretty decent this year too, in very limited sample size.
Yeah, 12 games. He's got a 922, 1.67 goals against. That's crazy.
Let's see. Is there anybody else on here?
But that's what I'm saying is, like, all those guys we've listed are, like, other than Seplikov, are AHL depth.
I did see Justin Ritzkovian on this list.
Okay.
Huru on this list, who I do think eventually can be an NHL guy.
Sure, yeah, okay.
TJ Hughes, no. Oh, Gleb. It's the college one, not the actual one. Yeah, Juha Jaska, not on that list.
Yeah, and he's played 17 more NHL games than some of the guys on that list. So, like,
I think the only person who hasn't played more NHL games than this year is Siplikov.
I was going to say Graf might have 20.
Not this year.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Wait, actually, I don't know, man. My brain is about...
I have his Young Guns card.
You have like 90% of the NHL Young Gun cards.
I do. That is a falsehood. I do not.
Don't do that.
I'm still waiting for...
He's played 19 this year.
I'm still waiting for my Stank rookie card, my Logan Stankoven rookie card.
That one hurt my chest a little bit. Ooh.
I'm sorry.
It's okay. And actually, Graf does, I think, actually have more games. He has 19 this year.
Okay, yeah.
So
not much, but some. All right. Okay. Let's wrap this up.
We gotta be wrap it up.
I gotta go to bed.
You got sure.
I am employed, sir. I have work tomorrow.
Oh, and then well, to finish it off, we can finish it off. Oh wait, no, that's fake. Never mind. I saw Pia's Suter was getting moved, but that's a lie.
No, I saw that too. That's with a Hockey Writers person. I don't think that's fake. I just
no, it's not that it's fake, but it, like 3 tweet. Oh my God, Yanni Gourde is playing tonight.
Seattle.
Run really well by Ron Francis.
If you don't got nothing nice to say,
don't say it at all.
Don't say nothing at all.
No, Mike. As soon as I see what I want to see, Pia Suter is playing tomorrow in the Canucks lineup. So that's from a TSN guy.
It sounds like there's a chance that it could be.
All right, you know what? I have a best way to wrap this up. It's NHL related. It's not prospect related. Is there anything that you would like the Canes to do at the deadline?
Yeah, I think they need to add a center. Ideally, a guy that can help you win some tough faceoffs because that's been a problem in the playoffs.
I actually full-heartedly agree. And the guy I think I mentioned it, but the guy I really like as like the good idea is just got rushed back from injury and is playing tonight against Minnesota Wild. I actually really I kind of like Yanni Gourde.
Yeah, he's definitely on the decline. Like, I don't think he's as good as he was like in Tampa.
Oh man, it's hard to replicate that in the first place.
But he'd be solid. I haven't looked at what his cap hit is or anything like that.
Yeah, I don't. You think I look at anything other than like I think Yanni Gourde would just be a fun little player.
One of the people, one of my bosses or people at the company I work for, keeps trying to sell me on Brad Marchand, Carolina Hurricane, which I personally would love.
He's not a center, Matthew.
He's not, but I think it would be hilarious.
You already have too many wingers as it is. There's no
who cares.
Rod Brindamore.
Brad Marchand on the Carolina Hurricanes would be the funniest thing imaginable.
Can he go 50? Can you go like 53% in the dot in a playoff game?
Jordan Martinook can move him to center.
And you want
Martinook can play center, like actually.
Yeah, but then you break up.
The thing is, like Brad Marchand being like a legitimately good hockey player, first of all, and one of the league's biggest pot stirrers. He'd be unreal. He'd be the actual thing this team has been missing in the playoffs.
It's also, yeah, and him and Jarvis obviously have gotten along in the past.
Right, you get the grit, you get the, he draws a lot of penalties, and, he just does the stuff to get under your skin, and that the Canes haven't had a good agitator in so long. So anyways, I would love for them to add a center.
Can you give me like a real answer?
I don't have who's on the block. I'm going to say a center and then maybe a depth defenseman to hold you over until Nikishin gets here.
I don't think you need a defenseman. I think if you really, really, really need to, you can play Riley Stillman. If you really, 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 really need to, you could play Ty Smith. Or if you actually want to, see something, you play Scott Morrow.
Yeah, sorry, I was just looking. Brock Nelson was getting like super emotional on the bench tonight.
Yeah.
So like, he probably knows that that's it. That's the other thing is like, who's gonna like who's gonna break the bank for Brock Nelson this year?
But I know exactly. I got this one on lock. It's been my
future Ottawa Senator.
No, that's Ryan Donato.
I don't hate that.
My thing for Brock Nelson will forever be Colorado.
I could, that makes a lot of sense. I also see Donato making a lot of sense in Colorado too.
Yeah, Colorado is definitely. Yeah, I really like how they get creative.
All right.
Okay, we're done.
Happy trade deadline, everybody.
This is also going up tomorrow, Wednesday, because
get it out before the go out tonight.
I wasn't. It was either going up tomorrow or Saturday, but Saturday I'm in the air. So
yeah, I was gonna say, and I'm at a friend's all day. So
yep. All right.
Thanks, folks. We appreciate it.
Thank you. I don't know why I saluted. Be good.